Okay, hey guys, today I'm going to be covering what I like to call a sense of scales, where I'll be going into why scales are important, where you should use them, where you shouldn't use them, and why am I even paying attention to this? Is it really that important? Well, let's see. So you might be wondering, do all humans have a scale? Well, yeah, to some extent we do. So what I like to define as the human scale is the way we explain things as a relative scale. So we always relate one object to another object, right? Now, does this work? Well, yes and no. So, usually using a context for what's being said and having multiple reference points, you'll have a good idea of what's being measured, but you would not have a specific idea of what's being measured. So, let's take an example of it was as large as a cat. Pretty common sentence. Hopefully, everyone's seen a cat. Maybe you've met one. Well, how big is the cat? And which cat are we talking about? And how old is the cat? You would assume that in this situation, if you're trying to be more specific, you would use a more specific word, right? As large as a lion, as large as a kitten. Well, yeah, but out of context, this sentence could mean all three of them, right? So it leaves room for a lot of vagueness, and when you're trying to convey data as accurately as possible, you really don't want to be vague. So, so why do we need an objective scale? Well, it's for answering questions like this. How big is the sun? Or how small is a bacterium? Well, on a human scale, one's very large, the other is very small. No argument there, really. But here's the problem. If you're trying to use a reference frame of the sun, which is almost a billion meters in diameter, both a human, a bacterium, and the entire Earth can fit within the classification of very small compared to this. And the same is true in reverse. Compared to a bacterium, both the sun, the Earth, and the human are very large. But do you see the range I'm talking about? In case you need a number for that, well, a bacterium is a millionth of a meter. So that's a difference of almost 10 to the 15, right? That's like a dollar versus 1,000 trillion dollars. So what does make a good scale? Well, a scale that has at least two absolute points. And usually they are referred to as, henceforth, a absolute scale. So like temperature in Kelvin, right? So far, whatever measurements we have made, Kelvin always works as the 0 point, right? Or let's take distance, the new definition of a meter based on the speed of light. So which is distance traveled upon its own speed, which by definition should be 1. Well, yeah, that's a very good measurement. As far as we know, these quantities do not change. If you're watching this video from inside a black hole, I would love to know how you got in this situation, so please tell me. So why don't we always use these good skills? If they're that great, why isn't everyone using them? Well, we do, but also there's relatability that comes into play. So let's say something like a 10-story building. If you live in an urban area, you might be seeing quite a few of them, every day. You might not know that the exact height is. Even I had to look it up, where it's like, about 100 feet. But if I describe something as this thing is as tall as a 10-story building, if you see enough of them, you have an idea of what that means. And this is a very important point. So this is what leads me to the downsides of using the human scale. Some human scales that look like they make sense actually don't make any sense whatsoever. So let's take this example. A gray whale is as long as a school bus. Well, yeah, it's having a whale of a time. It's as long as a school bus. Most of us have seen a school bus at this point. But now let's take that same reference point, right? A school bus. The moon, and I calculated this, is about 25.6 million school buses away from Earth. I don't think there are 25.6 million school buses on Earth. They're definitely not in space, and yeah, that's a more accurate scale. There is no feasible situation in which you would ever observe 25.6 million school buses. Even though you think you know what that means, due to the insane number that you've stuck in front of a school bus, now you again have no idea what that number means. right? In case you're wondering, the distance is about 384,500 kilometers. Pretty far. So, in conclusion, what is the best scale? Well, the best scale is always, in a given situation, does this make sense? Now, if a situation fits within the human scale, right, where you have some reference point that's close enough and you don't need accuracy to that extent, then yeah, you know, you can use a human scale. If a situation does not fit within reason, if you're going to have to use a very large multiplier or very small multiplier even, objective scale is almost in every situation a better idea unless your point is to exaggerate. And I will stop exaggerating the importance of scales and hope you pay attention in the future. Thank you.